Greek philosopher Aristotle once said that all men by nature desire to know. And I believe that's a big part of what drives Shannon and I to travel. We want to know. This itching curiosity recently brought us to Italy, a country so flush with things that stimulate the mind, it would take more than a lifetime to absorb it all. And though Italy's history, culture, and foods enlighten Shannon and I, the main reason we chose such a well-known destination was a little-known fact. Italy has surf. Yeah, the waves may rarely get perfect or very big, but it's Italy, and finding a good wave here just seems so much sweeter. Most Italians don't even know there are waves on their own home shores.
Are there any big waves in Italy?
No, big no. In Italy, no.
No, in Italy, no.
Wait.
You could see why they would believe this, as Italy's big boot-shaped landmass sticks right into the Mediterranean Sea, basically a huge lake. But that's the key. It's huge, and with Italy's 3 coastlines, along with the islands of Sicily and Sardinia, a wave trying to go anywhere in the Med is going to end up hitting Italian shores. The first time I had realized there were waves in the Mediterranean was while reading my Bible in the book of Acts, written almost 2,000 years ago. It spoke of the Apostle Paul who was taking a voyage to the Italian capital of Rome, and along the way, the ship was destroyed by pounding surf. In order to survive, those on board used planks and pieces of the ship to ride to shore, quite possibly becoming the first surfers in this unique sea. To better understand the anomaly of surfing in the Mediterranean, we met up with Nick Zanella and Emmy Mazzoni, the editor and photographer of Surf News, Italy's premier surf magazine.
Italy has more days of surfing a year than the world was expecting, and it actually surprising ourselves as well. One of the things that makes Surf News famous, because we started planning surf trips in the Mediterranean, which was considered almost impossible before because of the weather, of the so-called unpredictable weather. Sardinia and Sicily, which are conveniently located in the center of the Mediterranean, can count on around 200 days of waves a year, which is quite a good average. This includes also choppy and windy days. The northwest coast, it can count on around 120 days of surf a year. So now there's around 30,000 surfers in Italy. A good thing of being in a country that just started surfing is that we have a lot of room for exploration. Surfing as a lifestyle, and actually there's a lot of curiosity on mainstream media, even on radio, on national stations. They're seeing this thing growing, and they said, what, we have waves? And if there's so many people doing that, that means that that's a good thing. We have a few foreign visiting surfers coming to Italy every once in a while.
I'd like to say to the people that would like to visit and surf Italy, to try to speak with the people, to try to find a way to communicate with the people, even if the language is not the same one.
Nick and Emmy also recommended that we sample some of Italy's local cuisine. Besides pizza, Italians like to eat lots of unique things like octopus, pasta, risotto, burgers? Now those all taste great, but let's find something special, really Italian. Today, Amos is going to be cooking us my favorite meal, spaghetti, but it's called bottaio. Bottarga. It's about as old as 800 BC, when the Phoenicians had created it, and it's still found in Italy today. It's a very special dish, very unique. All the Italians know it and they love it.
Spicchio d'aglio. Peperoncino.
Some chili peppers. And the chili that he's frying right now has to be exact, that it doesn't get over-fried.
Senza bruciarlo.
It's a tuna fish egg that's dried in the sun, and then it's packed together, and then they chop it up, and it's sprinkled over the spaghetti.
Questa è la bottarga. spaghetti alla bottarga.
How do you say delicious in Italian? Buonissimo. After an amazing lunch, Nick let me in on one of his secret spots on the East Coast that may have a decent wave. I was stoked. We had just arrived and I couldn't wait to get into the water. To be honest, I wasn't shocked it was flat, and I knew this wasn't going to be an ordinary surf trip. But Emmy's photos of peeling point breaks and hollow barrels back at Surf News gave me assurance I hadn't come all this way for nothing. I just needed time. Shannon and I's quest for surf in Italy wasn't going as we had planned, but the painted landscapes and classic villages of Tuscany had us mesmerized. And we could see why Italians call their homeland Il Bel Paese, the beautiful country. On a tip from Nick, our Italian connection, there would be waves this evening in Rome. Excited about finally getting some surf, we drove all day down the middle of Italy, getting lost several times in fields of olive trees, farms, even castles. At least the scenery was nice. We finally arrived at Rome's surfing hub, the outskirt town of Santa Marinella.
Tired.
The drive left us exhausted, but this was Italy, and with waves often not lasting more than a day, even with my wobbly legs, I had to ride a few. To my surprise, there was a crowd of surfers in the water, but everyone was very friendly and had good surfing etiquette, quite uncommon in most lineups. The Italians were stoked to see a foreign surfer care to visit looking for waves. They said, just don't tell too many people how good it gets here. Okay.
It's like surfing in one big frothy cappuccino, except it's not at a hot. I wish it was at a hot, because it's kind of a cold. That's why I got the bigger, heavier wetsuit. Ciao, Bella.
Rome, a place we have all heard so much about. A city that has molded world history. The names Julius Caesar, Constantine, Michelangelo, Spartacus, they all walked these streets and made an impact on the world we live in today. These days, Rome is quite a different place, with mopeds zipping by as hordes of tourists sip on expensive lattes and crowd the streets. But Rome's great historical sites abound and coexist well with the modern stream of life that surround them. And none stands out so monumental as the Colosseum.
Welcome to ancient Rome.
And when in Rome, you have to check out the Colosseum. It was built over 2,000 years ago, and it's where all the gladiator fights took place. Millions of people visit the Colosseum every year, and they get a little glimpse of what it might be like to be in here. But Shannon and I wanted to get a closer experience. We wanted to see what the gladiators actually felt like. So we're going to gladiator school. And we have Alex, our instructor, and he's going to show us how to fight the ancient gladiator ways.
Hey guys, nice to meet you. I'm Alex. I'm your gladiator trainer for today. Hope you're ready. I'm going to make real gladiators of you. I'm going to teach you how to fight like real gladiators. So if you're prepared, come with me and we'll start straight away. This is probably the most original martial art because the word martial art actually comes from Mars, the god of war. So it's the art of Mars, the god of war. All right, it's time to get some armor on you guys.
After hours of training, I was finally ready to face the most fierce warrior known to man. They call her Wife.
Dang it! Hey!
After a short visit to the hospital, we made our way back to the coast because a clean swell was due to hit the next morning. The waves were small, but I was learning to do as the Romans do and appreciate any waves that come your way. The surf was starting to die off, but I could feel the calm before the storm and had a feeling a solid swell was due to hit Italian shores. An ominous wave-producing storm was brewing in the Mediterranean, and our friends Nick and Emmy invited us to go with them to an island off of Italy that would catch the swell dead on. We met them at the ferry and made our way into the deep, dark, and now freezing cold sea. As the gale-force winds blew across the deck, I began to wonder if we had made a mistake. The waves we had been hoping for had not arrived, but the Italians were on it anyway and made the best of the icy, crumbling mush. I guess I've been really spoiled before on trips where I could just show up places that don't get waves and they get waves, and I just always think that's gonna happen. And I even have gotten waves on this trip, but I feel like I'm in Antarctica. It's freezing. Shannon and I's concern had turned from the surf to our son Banyan, who over the last few days had caught a nasty cough. And you gotta be responsible, take care of your son.
I think he just has a cold, but I've never had a baby with a cold before, so I want to make sure everything's okay, especially since we're in a different country.
The doctor diagnosed us with a case of overparenting, and we're finding out Banyan is quite a tough little kid. I woke up the next morning expecting another gloomy, surfless day. But the Italians knew better, and their swell prediction proved to be true. Ale Maddalini, Italy's national surfing champion, joined me for a few waves.
I stood up sideways and put my feet up on your wall and took a stroll across Broadway's, leaving my footprints in your hall. If I could find myself in your photographs, could you see me for what I really am? Well, I am the reckoning boy. I am. Reckoning ball. I am.
It's pumping out there. If anything, I got completely trashed, like getting flipped upside down, smacking the bottom, getting stuck down there. The waves are even bigger than I expected on this trip, which is great. Hanging out with the Italians was cool, and I don't know if I've ever met more dedicated surfers. And I found out these guys haven't just surfed all over Italy, but all over the world. They've explored coastlines I'd only dreamt about. Places like Mozambique, Tunisia, Burma, Morocco, documenting each adventure for their magazine. And now we were all here on a remote island in the Mediterranean searching for waves together. But waves in themselves are truly such a small part of the surf adventure. It's the friendships you build, the things you learn, and the impression you leave behind that last. And the waves become merely the thread stitching together the true adventure.
If it picks up another couple of foot, we might check a sheltered left that's on the opposite side of the bay. So we're optimists. We're happy about being here.
Mille violini suonati.
The left broke over a shallow urchin-covered reef, but I could care less. The wave was epic, and the locals said it was the best day they'd seen all year.
Mille violini suonati.
I was having so much fun, I had to come in to grab Shannon for a few.
Mille violini suonati.
Emmy from Surf News had been shooting the end of the session, and it ended up making the cover of the very next issue. The next day, the waves and bad weather had disappeared as if they had never existed, and this Mediterranean island's true beauty was revealed.
Sometimes I wonder, was I ever right to leave home?
Our time in Italy was running out, and we had just one thing left to do. Well, here we are at the Leaning Tower of Pizza. It is believed over 2,000 years ago that pizza was invented in that very tower by people called the Pizzians. It was being attacked day and night, and the only thing that people could make that they had left over was dough and cheese and salami, and they had to eat it day and night, and they ended up calling it pizza. And that's where pizza's from today.
Actually, Shane, a famous architect built it and the ground just shifted.
Agree to disagree. Italy turned out to be as great a surf adventure as any, and I felt like I had only gotten a glimpse of what this amazing country has to offer on land and in the sea. And one last thing. If you ever decide to go on Surfari in Italy, skip Venice. There's no waves.